We're back for session 6 of Across the Atlantic, session 32 overall of Strange Times Ahead. As a little aside, I realized, thanks to doing my own casting of myself playing video games and looking back at it, I do weird things with my mouth while I'm casting. Like, not doing this thing because I'm specifically talking, but when I'm just like focusing playing video games and there's a camera and I'm not paying attention to it, I'm just like doing stuff with my mouth. Just like that looks.
You're concentrating. It's fine.
Yeah, it's not very becoming. Dog, no, Bree, what are you doing? She can't cook.
Bree.
Okay, let's jump into the recap. So rolling back a couple of games, the intervening days before the ship was due to leave were relatively uneventful. Brady sought medical help for his injuries. A series of trunks similar to the ones the artifact is in were purchased. Watts and Baker purchased fancy clothes. Wright, Brady, and Draper kept watch over the artifact, moving it into a second room. There was a incident while Draper was in the same room where he had unsettling dreams because he fell asleep in the presence of the artifact, but he doesn't particularly remember what they are. Watts investigated his mysterious egg. While doing so, he had strange experiences in terms of dreaming of unusual places. Although sometimes he was able to remember his dreams and know he was dreaming in them, and other times not so much. Flinders was spotted, and obviously some of the investigators had some dealings with him. Bree, stop it! Jesus. There was a suspicious man tailing the investigators that was spotted in the hotel, but no obvious moves were made by him or his companions. On Monday, February 5th, 1923, it was the day before the departure, and some final preparations were made. The artifact was moved into another one of the cases to further obfuscate its true location. Other plans were discussed in general about the days to come. And of course, Miss Baker took Mr. Watts out to party it up and live life grand so that he would be horribly hungover the following morning and easily convinced to or tricked into boarding the boat. Finally, Tuesday, February 6th, 1923, came the day of departure. The manifest for the boat was obtained, but the blueprints not so easily. The assistant at the harbor master's office was convinced through some charming by Mr. Wright to try and get them the blueprints, but it was a tall order considering that she would have to run off to get them from downtown. They were not immediately available. Mr. Wright has another strange experience as the artifact was being loaded onto the boat, where basically time stood still briefly, and some strange things happened. One of the porters was very insistent on helping with the luggage and made off with it suddenly with one of the trunks. Nora chases him down and shoots him and attracts the attention of the constabulary. But she manages to escape back to the docks without further delay and gets back on track, having got her trunk back. The captain meets the main group of investigators and introduces himself. He knows a bit about your mission, and promises his aid. Wright pushes a psychology roll about whether the captain is being true to them and whether he's trustworthy, and it does not go well. So we have yet to see what the outcome of having pushed that roll and failed it will be, but it should be interesting. The investigators are invited to dine at the captain's table this evening. Wright is escorted to his room and goes to take a nap, and the real not real case is to be given to the purser, but this has not yet happened. I think those were the last things you guys discussed. Anything else that you guys would like to fill in terms of things that have happened or things that should happen?
I think we were trying to figure out how to deal with Watts when he woke up. I think we settled on throwing Benjamin at him. Familiar face and all that.
Yeah, I think we were gonna have Benjamin talk to him, and we were gonna go talk to the purser.
I think also because they share.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask, how many rooms did we get?
3 rooms. Since they're double beds, only Nora has been left with her own room.
Okay.
is dealing with some sort of puppy shenanigans. We can hear him making funny noises in the hall. We're not really sure what. Okay, yeah, what the hell? Sorry. So anything more than you? I believe have you're all boarded the boat, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. We also talked about tossing the original case that no longer has the artifact in it in the was it the bursar or purser? Or purser?
Yes, that was the last thing. Was that you? One or more of you was going to go in and trust that case to the purser, impressing upon him that it is very important.
Show.
I believe you were all gathered in the hall, and there was people coming and going, and you had a fairly large, very loud conversation about this. And I think it was all four of you, with the exception of Mr. Wright, of course, Mr. Watts, please. If you want to go off and find your way to the hold where the purser is probably directing the storage of various things and taking the important goods for safekeeping, you can do so.
What was the captain's name?
The captain was Mr. Moore, A.M. Moore, Moore.
As an international ship, would it have like a bar that opened after we got out of American waters? Like, what was the deal with that?
That's a good question.
That sounds like it'd be a thing.
It totally does, but I don't know.
It would definitely be a thing now.
Yes.
Being rum runners, that's not what. I would assume you probably could once you are out of U.S. That's an interesting question.
So the weird thing that I keep finding is that anyone transporting alcohol within the states could be charged, and so just having it on the ship, in theory, like I don't know, it's yeah.
U.S. flag liners were prohibited from serving alcoholic beverages to their passengers. Non-U.S. vessels were free to open their bar to passengers, including U.S. citizens, as soon as they left the territorial waters.
I guess, are we on an American ship or not?
One second. The steamship is from the United States lines. Whether it was actually flagged in the U.S., we'll say it probably was. So there's no alcohol. As far as legal. The purser that you were looking for is a Mr. Barnes, which I believe the captain told you.
All right. Well, yeah. Nora would suggest that she should probably be one of the people to drop off the case, since it would be for the best that she avoids Watts for the immediate future, probably. Does anyone want to come with me?
Well, it is a very important case.
It's also a little unwieldy for one person to manage.
I'll stay and take I guess I'll take all of the other ones into my room until we figure out exactly what we're doing with all the cases.
Yeah, I presumably you would have brought the rest of them to the to your rooms. And while he just says this, I'm going to give the dog a bone or something because she's at the top of the stairs just barking at us.
Yeah, it was a kind of short walk. Anyway, yeah, I think it makes sense. Do you have the other ones carefully guarded if they're gonna be all together?
My idea was to have them split between our rooms, and we would like move it around
Gotcha. All right.
throughout.
And
the
if we
journey.
don't know which one it's in, then we can't tell other people which one it's in.
Which means Mike doesn't know where it's at.
Mm. Oh yeah, we do have that private DM for that.
True.
Ross doesn't know either.
He's in a coma right now, right?
Yeah. Well, he's sleeping off a big hangover, yeah.
All right, so what's the verdict? You off to the bursar? Purser?
Yeah.
Purser. So the ship is abuzz with people going to and fro, moving their cargo, getting settled into their cabins, finding their way, looking for a place to settle down. And of course, as they get settled, they're making their way out to the deck for the grand departure, which is due in not too long. You jostle your way through the crowds with this case in tow, finding your way down to the lower level where the below steerage, where the cargo is being kept and the lockup is available. You see a short fellow with thick curly black hair and clean shaven face who is yelling at various porters and dock hands as they move to and fro, while some of the more well-heeled passengers or their assistants are standing around with certain smaller trunks that they're waiting to get placed into more protective care.
Do we see anybody following us or anyone that looks suspicious along the way?
Sure, give me a spot hidden.
I roll as well.
Sure. Mr. Wright, you do not. Miss Baker, as you make your way down there, you do see. Sorry, so it's Mr. It's just the two of you that are going down. Was the decision?
Yeah, because we had left Brady to watch over Watts, I thought, and Draper had all the chess.
Yeah.
Yep.
On your way down towards the lower deck, through the crowd, Miss Baker, you see a fellow with a shock of red hair and a beaten cap with a little card stuck into the brim, who seems to jump up for a moment and look in Mr. Wright's direction. But as you continue upon your way, you lose sight of him. You're sure to notice him again, though, in the future, considering his the brilliant color of his natural red hair and his freckled face.
All right, I will file that away for now and wait for a good opportunity to bring it up.
As you get down into the hold, the fellow who you assume is Mr. Barnes is yelling out, directing people, and dealing with the various people waiting to store precious goods as best as he can.
Is it particularly organized, or can we just kind of shove our way through to the front?
You could definitely try and shove your way to the front. It's a little bit of a madhouse at the moment since the boat is due to leave very soon.
All right. Yeah. Nora will kind of just try and push her way through, using her size and strength to kind of just shove and where necessary, maneuvering the chest to sort of push people out of the way and get to the front as quickly as possible.
I will apologize to everybody as we bump into him. Sorry, so sorry.
Coming through. Sorry, coming through. Make way. There is some grumbling, but with the two of you, particularly Miss Baker's somewhat unconventional and unconventional appearance and brash disposition, certainly it makes it so that you get through without too much trouble. You find your way to standing in front of the purser, and he coughs and says, "Can I help you?"
Nora will deliberately speak a little more loudly than she needs to, trying to sort of keep up with the, misdirection as much as possible, making sure that people, if they're asked, remember that this chest ended up here. Say, yes, we require safe storage for a very valuable item that absolutely must be protected throughout this journey.
Yes, indeed. Well, you've come to the right place. I see you pushed your way to the front of the line, so let's get on with it. Is this the item here?
Yes, of course. It's very important it receives the utmost attention.
It's also very fragile, so handle it with care. And then kind of look
at it.
Yeah, I look around like I'm trying not to be obvious, but being just slightly obvious about it.
I guess if you want to give me like a particular like how good are you at really trying to enforce this for anybody who might be watching, you could give me a roll. I mean, it seems like it's not a difficult thing to do, but if you want to see if you knock it out of the park, by all means.
Yeah, could I sort of try and judge how people are responding to this? Like, if anyone's particularly paying attention, or if it's really having the desired effect, or if people are just annoyed at us for being pushy.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say like definitely, as far as you can tell, people are like just a bit annoyed at you for being pushy, and there's a lot going on. It's pretty difficult. Certainly somebody could be keeping an eye on you surreptitiously. They'd be doing a pretty good job of it. It would not be hard to do a fairly good job of it as long as you kept moving and were blending in with the crowd. So if you guys wanted to make I don't know.
Guess I could flavor it. We heard that you were the person to take this to, that you're really capable and would be able to handle this.
Well, I am the purser after all, so yes, indeed. Over here is the lockup for the most valuable goods, and I can assure you that whatever it is you are bringing, we probably have more valuable items that are that are being carried. He says this based on looking you guys, the two of you, up and down. Your credit ratings obviously not being particularly significant. He does not judge you to be very wealthy people.
More valuable, perhaps, but certainly not as unique.
Or as potentially dangerous to anyone who should lose it.
But not too dangerous.
Of course not. Not so much the danger from the item, but the danger from those who would miss it.
We've already said too much.
You worry far too much. Yeah, all right. We'll, I guess, hand over the box, and I don't know, does this guy seem as trustworthy as he's trying to be?
You can give me a psychology roll. Yeah, he seems like he is a fellow who is there to do a job, and he's going to get that job done. He is somebody whose sole job is to be entrusted with the valuables that are being transported upon this vessel.
All right, after we hand it over, Nora will sort of try and soften her approach slightly to make sure that he, isn't annoyed with them too much. It's just, I do apologize for being so careful, but This item is very important to the future of the family, you understand, and without it, our fortunes would be far worse. So I do believe I can trust you, and I hope I will not be disappointed.
He nods and says, "Your trust is well placed and well founded. If you would like to follow me, then I will show you exactly where it will be placed." And he turns around, sipping through a portal just behind him, beckons you inwards. As this is the lockup for the valuables that are being brought. I trust you have some paperwork available for the nature of the goods and the booking for the hold here, which I would say you do. Having not covered this before, but like yes, obviously, like when Abnerwig booked this, he would have booked this where traveling with like valuable goods was part of the booking.
Okay. Then, assuming we knew that, we would have that and would supply it.
He looks it over the paperwork and says, "Artifacts. I don't know much about such things, but if they're valuable, well, it's safe in my hands." And so you're standing in what is a fairly small vault-like room that has a variety of different boxes of various sizes and shelves with lined edges so the stuff doesn't fall off of them in heavy seas. The that are is starting to fill up now, but there's a space in the back where you can drop off your largest trunk that would have it safely held in place.
All right. I guess we go over and secure the trunk and turn to Mr. Wright. Well, I trust you're satisfied. Anything else you think we should do before we join the rest of the group?
Um, well, we've got this squared away. We should probably check on the others.
Indeed. Hopefully Mr. Watts hasn't woken up yet.
And then, once we are back in like the earshot of other people, I'll say to the purser again, uh, again, so sorry for our abruptness, but I'll kind of lean in and whisper, but not quietly. We've already been accosted, and someone's already tried to take this from us, so forgive our paranoia.
He says, "Already tried to take it from you on the way here." Then
Mm-hmm.
this is good to know. I will obviously be keeping a close eye. Besides your trunk, of course. There is notable cash reserves and various jewels among other valuables that are being stored in here. So whatever it is you're carrying, let's say at least in terms of its bulk, is not the highest concern in terms of being stolen.
That is fair, but it is important to us, of course. I should warn you, the one fellow who tried to steal a case right out of my hands, well, he was pretending to be a ship hand, so it may be a good idea to keep an eye on your staff. Make sure you know them.
He bristles a little bit at this and says, "Ma'am, the actual staff aboard are all quite trustworthy. You'll have it by my word. Captain, shit, what's his name? I should remember this. Captain Moore is an able soul and a good judge of character. And anybody actually working upon this ship was here at sea is somebody who has been vetted personally by him, if not myself as well."
Well, I appreciate your reassurance. That does make me feel somewhat better.
He did seem to run quite the tight ship. But for your benefit, I'll give a description of the two individuals that I put together were following us on the train.
I'm sorry, I don't have much time to listen. Now we're about to depart. Could you visit me later, maybe, and provide them? It would be useful, but I have many matters still to deal with before we can set sail.
Of course, of course. Thank you for your time.
He ushers over the next person and looks a little frazzled, considering the final preparations that are in his hands.
On the way back, I'll kind of keep up a show conversation, kind of whispering about, do you think it'll be safe with the purser, that kind of thing.
As you're making your way back up the stairs, a small form manages to push its way through the crowd at the railing on the lower level that you're passing through. For reference, generally, it's like there's like an upper level, which is like your higher class passengers with a higher class deck. There is a secondary level, which is like the outside area available to people who are traveling steerage. But those people then generally stay in quarters that are like in that deck or lower. So as you're passing through this secondary level, a fellow bursts out from the crowd, once again with bright red hair and hold on, actually, yes, bright red hair, short man with bright red hair and clean-shaven, freckled face. His slightly battered hat has a small press card in it, and the notebook is tucked in his pocket. His clothes are a little old but well kept, with a tweed coat, slacks, and shiny black shoes. He says, you must be Mr. Wright. I understand you are also a member of the press, much like myself. Let me introduce myself. I am Horatio Hughes. I have some information that you might find interesting. Might I have a moment of your time?
Of course. Member of the press never quite leaves the job, even on vacation.
Nora will just look him up and down for moments. You've been watching us for some time there.
Yes, I knew Mr. Wright was to be boarding, and that is why I've come to speak with him. And you are, ma'am?
Miss Baker, how exactly did you know Mr. Wright would be on this ship?
Why,
That's
that
a
is
good
exactly
question.
the matter that I wish to discuss with him.
Well, I'll leave you two to it then. She'll sort of raise an eyebrow at Mr. Wright.
Seems harmless enough, like half whispered.
Does he seem, I don't know, like he's gonna go crazy and try and toss Mr. Wright overboard or something? Like,
If you want to give me a psychology check, by all means.
Could I join in on that, or
Yeah, sure. I mean, certainly. I mean, if you want to, how you interpret him. Yeah, he seems like he's a bubbling personality, and he's not going to straight up shank you any moment. You know, he seems all right.
all right, I'll give Mr. Wright a reassuring nod and sort of half wave at Mr. Hughes as I head back towards the group.
He grabs you, Mr. Wright, by the arm and ushers you. What? Tosses you overboard. He says from the side. Much
This is
stronger than he
where
looked.
your journey ends?
Wrong answer.
Time to roll a new character.
No, yeah.
Hope he's on the boat.
So no, yes, he grabs you by the arm and ushers you down to the currently empty or largely empty dining hall for the steerage passengers. Long benches and tables are set up, and a few people are milling around, mostly staff. And he gestures to sit down at one of the empty tables.
I sit down.
He sits down with you and he says, "Now then, well, but to not shock you too much, I know something of your mission here, and it is to warn you that I have come today." It says,
Well,
"Tell me, have you heard the name, the Crawling Chaos?"
I give a quick glance around. Does anybody seem to be paying us much attention?
Nope, it's pretty empty. You would be pretty obvious if somebody was close enough to be really listening in. He's definitely also not shouting.
Uh, Perhaps, but before we dive in, perhaps some introductions are in order. I'm, of course, Mr. Mr. Wright, and I've worked with the college and with the local paper of Arkham. Which paper do you work for?
I am a member, primarily of a contributing member of the New York Tribune, but I've also written for a few other tabloids and papers in the region. Which you would be relatively familiar with. You might not necessarily have seen his byline, depending on what kind of stuff you read, but he is not completely making stuff up.
And how did you come across this organization?
Well, that was my own investigatory journalism, you see. I was looking into this strange group that had been involved in some missing persons over in the Bronx. I've been investigating them for some time, and I had started to manage to ingratiate myself with a few of their order to find out a little bit more about what exactly they're up to. It was through that connection that I overheard a tasty tidbit, a little morsel, mind you, something about tickets booked on this very vessel, and a piece of precious cargo that is possibly dangerous and needed to be acquired by their higher ups.
Well, I appreciate your warning, but it's safe now. We, uh, this ship seems to have uh, satisfactory uh, accommodations and protections for those kinds of items.
Indeed, indeed, it does seem to be quite a seaworthy vessel with a good stout crew. Well, I figured that you should know, though, that the whoever these people are, they are dangerous, and they have booked passage upon this vessel. I specifically heard your name and remembered it because I had read your byline from the papers that we get down here from Arkham. A few other names came up. I'm not sure, Crady or something, and I don't know, Craper, something along those lines. But your name stood out.
Of course. Um, this these individuals would you wouldn't happen to have names or descriptions?
Oh, they're all very shady individuals. It's hard to say. I have heard a few different code names, and I don't know how much stock to put into them. But I do know that their local leader is not a man, but a woman, you see. And so it could be anybody, both lady or man, that's aboard this vessel that you cannot trust, who is looking for whatever this thing that you carry is that they value so.
If she's involved, that's unfortunate. They caused quite a stir in Arkham.
You're up in Arkham as well. I thought they were only operating here in New York.
Well, I've been investigating myself, you see, and their tendrils seem to have traveled farther than either of us have imagined.
Indeed, indeed. I wonder if they're also across the sea in other cities as well. It does seem concerning. In terms of my own investigations, they have all sorts of strange occult leanings, rituals they're involved in that must require some sort of blood sacrifice, that sort of things. You have to understand, I don't put much stock in these tales, but given the actual disappearances and how well the stories sell to the tabloids, I have been getting more and more wrapped up in these things.
Seeing as our investigations appear to overlap, perhaps we should swap some notes.
Exactly my thinking. Exactly, my good sir. That's just my concern. And with me down below in steerage, and you sitting all plush in your beautiful cabins up in your first class, we'll have the grounds covered completely. I'm happy to slum it for your to help out wherever I can. He says as if he could actually afford first class tickets.
Well, if you're already down there, not sure how much to trust to this guy so far. Do you have a? This will be a lengthy passage. Perhaps we could do some meets here in the dining hall and across the journey and speak more on this matter.
Absolutely. The dining hall seems like a good place to meet. Shall we say late in the morning once the initial breakfast rush is over?
It seems acceptable.
Sometime around 10 is probably good. My experience from being on one of these vessels once before, I think that would probably be about the right time when it is not too busy after breakfast but before lunch.
Well, thank you for the tip. We'll be in touch, Mr. Hughes.
Thank you, Mr. Wright. And tell me, the item, was it that what you were taking downstairs to the safekeeping of the purser?
I give him a wry glance and then continue on to my compatriots.
He says, yes, very discreet. Yes, yes, you can trust me. He pulls out his notepad and scribbles fervently in it.
I'll head back to the others.
Were you guys all back in your rooms then, waiting for the return, or otherwise swanning around doing anything else during this time?
I would have like tried to get a lay of the room. Tried to see like if there was any places to like hide the cases really, or is it just like gonna be out in the open?
So, actually, I have a page for this. Here are some examples of potential rooms. So at the top, you've got two of what would be normal higher class double bunks. They are not exactly spacious. And down below that, you would see what steerage looks like, which is much less spacious. And then what might be one of the few specialty rooms for somebody like the captain who has an individual bed, finally.
It wouldn't fit under the bed, would it? It'd be too big.
Yeah, it would be too big. You'd have to be like shoving against the wall, basically, or on top of like the chair.
Yeah. I'll probably just put it
Yeah, I
like.
don't know. I feel like with how small the rooms are, that Nora may have suggested that they should put the chest in her room, since she is the only one sleeping alone and
Has an extra bunk.
has an extra bed.
Well,
There was a push to talking. I was gonna say, basically, yeah, like it might make sense to keep excess trunks in her room and like one trunk in another room.
well, I wanted each room to have a trunk.
Okay, yeah.
And I think we had 4, and the original one including the original one. That one's in with the purser, so we'd each have
Oh, okay.
one.
So yeah. So there'd be 3 trunks left.
Yeah, so we'd each have one in each room. So then I would just try to put the one that has the artifact just kind of somewhere in the room that's not like in the way.
I'm not sure what you mean. The one that has the artifact is obviously with the purser.
Clearly, yeah. Sorry.
Of course.
Just one of them in there, and then just kind of look around. Would the room I'm in have like a window to the outside?
Yes, I would say the rooms that you guys are all in are all upper level rooms with a window to the outside and a door that opens into an inner hall.
Okay. What's the kind of view I can get from that window? It's probably not great.
It is a small porthole that looks out onto the upper class deck. So there's like some people walking around out there right
Okay. I'll stay in the room until somebody comes, and then I'd like just keep an eye out for people walking by to see if I see any of those either of those two people. I don't imagine they just walk by the room, but just in case.
now. Sure.
Yeah, Nora's gonna go back to her room and just kind of try to avoid Watts until somebody tells her that he's like awake and not furious. And then while she's there, she's going to set up her camera so it has a good angle on the porthole window, just in case she wants it at some point.
Oh,
And then chain smoke until someone comes to tell her what's going on.
So yeah, looking out the window, there is an absolute gang of people now starting to array themselves. You're looking out along the side that is abutting the dock, and so many people are starting to prepare for cast off to wave to well wishers and so on that are going to see the boat off on its journey. In terms of seeing somebody suspicious, there's certainly nobody trying to peer in the holes of the various windows. It would be pretty damn suspicious to do so, other than a handful of children who are standing on each other's shoulders, giggling as they peer in windows and then see people and run off.
Perhaps we should employ the urchins.
These are pretty high class urchins up on this deck.
Oh no.
They're wearing very nicely tailored clothes, but there are also younger children or poorer children on the lower deck.
Ooh. The regal approach. Or was it Travis? I can't remember.
So as some time passes, yeah, obviously you guys get back upstairs, and I'll say as the final departure time arrives, the last boarders are rushing towards the gangplanks. Final cargo is pushed up the ramps and stowed away. The crowd on the dock is gradually replaced with well-wishers and dockers there to see the ship off. Are you guys going to head out to the railing or just stay in your cabins while you await the departure?
Of course. There's no reason to remain in the cabins. Our valuables are in safe care.
I will remain with the artifact.
Yeah, Nora's gonna stay in her room and just like keep an eye out to see if there's anyone skulking around being suspicious.
I'll probably be staying in the hallway, kind of either on a chair, maybe next to a window, or just on a chair if there's no chairs like visible in the hallway, so that I can see the doorway to Watts's room. I'll probably just be kind of like reading a paper or a book, just keeping an eye.
I guess I'll go all alone.
So I'm just
Well,
yelling at Emily to confirm she's just dealing with the puppy finishing her bone.
if Nora was staying behind, I might put the artifact, leave her with the artifact, and go out with right.
Sure. You certainly shuffle the boxes around as need be. So dropping it off, then Mr. Draper and Mr. Wright, you make your way out, also onto the upper deck, and can find a place to look out. Just as you exit onto the deck, a series of deafening horns sound out, and the engine kicks in. A low rumble kicks through the ship as it grows in crescendo. The gangplanks are drawn up, and the last remaining ropes holding the ship are cast off. The upper deck is busy with passengers watching as they depart to wave to family and friends, but the lower deck is full to the brim. As the final gangplank is about to be pulled up, a few late arrivals rush to board.
As we're out here, I would definitely be like just kind of looking around, not trying to be too suspicious, but looking out for those two people.
I am engrossed in the departure.
I'll say, Mr. Draper, you can give me another spot hidden. I think I'm abusing the spot hidden. I feel like this is like a I just make a call type situation, but we'll do it again this time.
Well, I don't think I've made a spot hidden yet. Nope.
Well, yeah, you certainly do keep an eye out, but don't spot either of the suspicious individuals that I think, or you've seen one of them and heard a description of the other, I believe, right? I think that's the way it still worked out.
I think I saw both of them because I saw one of them tried to pickpocket me, and then the other one tried to tackle me.
It's true. Yes, that makes sense. You're one of the people. No, that's not the guy you shot.
No, I said the other guy.
Oh no, the person you shot was a totally tertiary person. He was just an innocent deckhand who was trying to steal your stuff.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, innocent, sort of.
Innocent.
Yeah,
Totally.
exactly. I didn't. Sorry, officer. I didn't know I couldn't do that. Anyway, yeah. So the boat shutters forward. As you're looking down, one of the last remaining people to board is a fellow with an unusually ornate trunk that he is dragging behind him that catches your eye, but it's impossible to make out any details of the fellow as he makes his way up the lower ramp and jumps onto the ship at the very last moment. People,
Sister,
sorry.
talking to Draper, is this your first voyage?
Yeah, I've actually not been too far out of Arkham most of my life.
It's mine as well.
Interesting role playing potential, Huck, is whether you or other people you would have known would have been part of World War One at this point in time. Obviously, like a lot of people would have traveled overseas, particularly men, during World War One,
Oh, you know what? I
but
think
not necessarily everybody.
I might have made a note about that. Let me check.
Yeah, that's why I thought of it. I was just like, I think one of you guys has a note about this in terms of what happened in regards to World War One with your character.
No, Roland was doing nefarious things. I don't think he would have.
I mean, it's like it's not crazy that you wouldn't have gone. I just looked it up, and 4 million men served in the United States Army, and additionally 800,000 other military service branches during World War One. And obviously, not all of them actually went overseas.
Well, someone had to run the papers back home. So.
Among other things, yeah, exactly. Um,
I think my last two characters, their dad was like a general in the army or something. I had said.
Yeah. Sorry, I kind of cut you off there. But if there's anything more, I'll say that. Yeah, there's obviously much jubilation on the deck. You're with the well-heeled part of society who have the higher class cabins, whereas the still pretty well-dressed people who are traveling in steerage. And it's still not a cheap thing to do to travel across the sea to England. And certainly kind of a comparison. There was a lot of immigration coming into the country during the post-war period, or communal period at this point. But not a lot of people will necessarily be going back to the UK and Europe. So these are people who are not as wealthy to afford the nice bunks, but are still do pretty well for themselves, and particularly for something like this big occasion of traveling, would be dressed also as nicely as they could. Like I mentioned with Horatio Hughes, he had somewhat older worn clothes, but they were in good condition.
You don't seem particularly disturbed by, let's just say, unusual things.
I have seen some things. So, I mean, I definitely not immune. Definitely some things that I've seen don't make sense, and just gotta go along with it, trying to make sense of it.
The others have seen a lot. They were together before I met them. It's you look out at all these people and they have no idea what's in the belly of this ship. No
Yeah.
idea the world we've dabbled in.
I think about that quite a bit. How ignorant, innocent everyone else is. How sometimes I wish I was.
How did you first come across the I'd say the occult, if that were I guess that's the closest to apply.
Me and a friend ran into artifact quite similar in material, at least, of the artifact that we are currently carrying, and it. Well, I believe I mentioned I have a friend in the asylum. Same friend.
We saw others end up that way in our last encounter. It's very dangerous work.
Yes.
Well, you seem like you have your head on your shoulders, so I'm glad that you were sent to help us.
Yeah. Not sure what to make of your Mr. Watts friend that you've brought along, but from the time that I've spent with you and Mr. Brady, the two of you seem alright as well.
What grows on you?
We'll see.
I'll go through a few cigarettes while watching the ship depart.
Many other fellows on the deck are smoking away. adding to the steam that's billowing out from the engines. Speaking of which, Mr. Watts, give me a Constitution roll.
Dokie.
With an extreme success, you sleep like a baby through the incredibly loud noise of the horns blaring out as the ship leaves, and then the vibration of the engines kicking in. With such a deep sleep, the egg that you carry, have you kept it on your person, or is it stowed away in your baggage?
It would be with me always. I'm never leaving it.
All right. Give me a mythos roll.
Could have done that first, Mike, with that 9.
To see whether you're sleeping soundly. You slip into a dream, and you do not realize that you are dreaming. You find yourself on a wide open plain. Tall grasses gleam a brilliant yellow around you, coming up to above your waist. An incredibly bright sun blazes directly above you, and no clouds can be seen. The heat is oppressive.
The heat is what?
Oppressive.
Okay. Is
What
there
do you do?
any... touch the grass, lie down. Angel.
As you move and touch the grass, it slices into your skin like a blade.
I do not do an angel.
Blood trickles down your hands from your exposed forearms from everywhere that it brushed against your skin.
Look at my hands and just scream.
As you scream and hold still, a sound rumbles across the plain. A cloud of dust and debris rises from that direction.
Is it coming towards me?
As the sound gets closer, there are large dark forms beneath the cloud leading it towards you. It's hard to make out what they are and just how big they are.
Run the other way. Sprint.
The grasses slice your pants into tatters as you sprint, leaving bits and pieces of torn cloth. The paper cut like slices start to dig into your shins as you run through the grass. The things behind you are continue to approach, and as you look over your shoulder, you can make out insectoid legs moving rhythmically. Black, shining beetle-like bodies surge forward, churning across what seems like tiny grass in front of them, scattering them around. Small flying creatures escape just in front.
Anywhere to hide?
Nope, it is just a wide open plain of grasses.
I guess I'll stop and face my fear and hold my hand out and say, stop!
As you turn around and go to yell out, the dream abruptly ends, and you surge back into your body in the cabin. Awaking will be a bit later in the day. We will switch back over to the rest of the group.
That's good.
So the boat is now leaving the New York harbor, and people are starting to move away from the railings as the sights are getting to be less exciting, and the city fades into the background. What do you guys do? It's getting late in the afternoon, but it's not yet dinner time, and you have been invited to dine with the captain this evening at I believe it was 8:00.
Did I see anyone through the porthole while all this was going on?
You saw children for the most part who were playing a fun game of staring people's portals to see if they could see a naked lady. You were not one of them, and they giggled and ran away. And otherwise, the adults generally seem to have had the good sense not to be peering in people's windows.
Nobody particularly suspicious passed by then. All right. I will make a mental note of the kids that were peering in and keep an eye out for them going forward. See if I can bribe them to spy for me.
Sure. So, I don't know if you missed the extra artifact box from Mr. Draper has been moved into your room. So you currently are in possession of 2 of the boxes.
Yeah.
So you were leaving them be in your room for the time being to go and see if you can track down one of these children? Or
No,
you
I
yelling
said I
at
was
them?
I'm gonna keep an eye out for them, like in the future type thing, and just sort of make a mental note of what they look like, and then if I see them around the ship, I can try and pay them at some point. Then, for now, I'm just hanging out.
Alrighty. Yep. Well, yeah. You see a handful of different children. As I mentioned, all generally well healed, but children nonetheless. And you make a note of who seems to be the leader and the more gregarious of them, and who seems to be more shy. So you can make the best choice possible in terms of which one you hopefully can approach later.
I'll bribe them with cigarettes. That's appropriate, right?
In 1920, yes. I think it came up at some point where I mentioned, like in 19. I think it would have been 1947 or something like that, 1948. My dad mentioned, he's like, okay, so like when he was 16, his parents went to Atlantic City for vacation and came back. And what they brought him back as his souvenir from Atlantic City was a carton of cigarettes. They're like, here you go. He's like 15 or 16 years old. All right. So as people start to disperse around, you can certainly kill some time if you want. Oh, Jesus Christ, dog! She's being dramatic. And so yes, you can certainly find some ways to kill some time in terms of wandering around or just sitting in your bunk room while you await dinner and can get prepared. You may want to change for dinner. And in not too long, Mr. Watts will awaken from his slumber with a splitting headache and strangely stinging arms and shins.
You die in a dream, you die in real life.
Hope not.
So yeah, any orders of business that you particularly would like to deal with before dinner, besides Mr. Watts awakening?
I think we should figure out if we're all going to the dinner or somebody staying behind.
Nora would volunteer to stay behind because she hates fancy dinner things. Also, she trusts her gun skills the most if they are necessary, and she's a little paranoid at this point.
The rest of you are all going to make your way to dinner. Well, assuming we'll see what happens with Mr. Watts.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would still be camping outside in the hallway, right, waiting for him.
Yeah, well, I mean that's basically the next thing before the actual dinner is Mr. Brady. You hear a commotion as Mr. Watts lets out a yelp as he suddenly awakes from his slumber with a splitting headache as he has sobered up from his night of debauchery and his afternoon of napping.
Would I have some I guess when I saw the doctor, would I have gotten some aspirin or something to help?
Yeah, I would say that seems reasonable. I don't see that
Okay.
would be very likely.
I think we talked about
Also,
this.
I bought some. I could have
Okay.
left it behind with you.
Yeah, I was gonna say yes. You guys definitely have some
Okay.
regardless.
Nora also left booze,
Okay.
just in case.
Aspirin and booze.
Terrible combination. Just rip your stomach to shreds. I'm pretty sure it's a bad idea, but that's okay. 1920.
Barbaric times.
Yeah, aspirin and alcohol can result in certain types of gastrointestinal distress, including nausea and vomiting.
Hey, Thomas isn't an alcoholic. He was just celebrating his birthday.
No, yeah, it's basically the thing is that like it's like it's you probably have to have drunk a bunch and take a bunch of aspirin, but like it's not a great combination anyway.
All right. I guess I would be if I hear him awake making a commotion, I'd probably be near the door, um, or relatively close to the door, but I wouldn't barge in by any means.
Well, Mr. Watts, you find yourself in a small cabin. You're no longer seeing through the rose-colored goggles, or well, black-colored blindfold of your alcohol and literal blindfold.
Yeah. So I sit bolt right up, remove the blindfold that I was sleeping with, because why not? And kind of like, Nora.
The room seems to be, for some reason, rolling. So, you can't be sure whether it's the effect of the alcohol or it is literally rolling.
Is there a toilet nearby?
There is a toilet in the. I think, yeah, that's a good question. No, I think there's a sink, but no toilet.
I'll go to the sink and see if I can throw up.
All right. If you want to throw up, yeah, I think you can.
That is
Yeah.
so hard to clean up.
Yeah. And then I don't think I've eaten, so it might not be that bad.
You feel a little
no,
better
no.
after vomiting a little bit, but the room still seems to be rolling side to side.
I reach for my bag and take some aspirin out because I know that I would have had some in my bag anyway. If my backpack's there, or satchel, or whatever I'm carrying, just splashing water in my mouth from the tap.
Yeah, the water seems vaguely saline and a little bit stale, and but it manages to help further freshen you up, and you swallow down an aspirin.
Yeah, I'll wash my face with a bit of cold water, and then I'll fully take a look at the room and see if I know where I am.
Small round portal shows you light from outside, which you can see the occasional figure moving past. You have a wicker chair and vanity in the room, and then double beds, one on top of the other. A variety of different luggage, some of which is clearly yours, and some of which is not, is piled in the room, as well as a trunk that looks, or well, I suppose that you don't really know much about.
Well, I mean, like, if it's not got my name on it, I won't look at it, but I might. Will I? I'll ignore the trunk. Okay, open the door.
Mr. Brady, Mr. Watts opens the door. I don't know how familiar you are with boats, but like, I would think at this point you're probably getting suspicious that this is a kind of boaty room with boaty kind of like stuff on it. Like a train would not be set up like this.
Brady?
Oh, you're muted.
Well, I was not expecting you to be up, but how are you doing? Are you feeling okay?
My head is pounding and didn't expect to see you, so I'm now confused. And this train is like none other I've seen before.
Yeah, it's a
I rub my forearms as well because of the pain.
yeah, it's definitely a different kind of train for sure. If you're dealing with any amount of pain, I do have some aspirin for you. If you'd want to take it,
Yeah, I'll take it.
I'll just hand
Even
it
though I
over
already
now.
had some.
Okay.
So I'll take a take a couple more aspirin.
How long have you been asleep? Do you know? Would you know?
No, what is the time now?
Actually, what is the time right now? Do you know?
I'd say you're getting on for like 6 p.m. A couple
Okay.
hours till dinner.
So what time did we leave?
So in terms of when you were boarding the train, or the ship, what you think is a train, would have been, get out of there. Would have been around, I guess like midday.
I got here noonish, I think, and I just needed to sleep off. For it's been a very heavy few days with Nora partying. She's a good
Yeah.
one, that one.
Yeah.
A great friend who'd never betray you.
It definitely seems as if you'd been having a good time. I
But
think.
what are
Go
the
ahead.
chances of you being here? Like, what is going on? Is this part of a surprise?
Yeah, I know it's crazy, right? It's weird. Um, no, I think it's best that we find the others. Would you know where? At this point in time, I guess would how far along in the departure would we be right now?
You're
6 hours,
at the
right? Oh,
point where shore is starting to become it's still visible, but like it's like little teeny buildings on the horizon.
Okay. Um, I guess I'm gonna. I don't know how to do this alone, so I guess Brady internally is thinking that he wouldn't know how to do this by himself, so he's gonna probably knock on Nora's door.
Nora flinches. She's like, goes over. Is there like a peephole in the door?
I think we pretty established that peepholes hadn't been invented yet.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right,
It was like the
Unfortunately.
30s.
certainly not on boats, ships.
She'll slide the door open about an inch and kind of peek out, like, oh. Is he awake then?
Yeah, I would probably nod. I would nod to you. He is.
Okay. Well, I got 2 of these cases. I guess you guys better come in here.
Okay.
2 of these cases, as in the artifact cases, right? Out of character, yeah. Huh. I have one of those in my room. And how come you got your own room? Whose stuff is in my room? And what
Well,
are they? And I go to open one of the cases.
don't. Let's not. Um, we'll get to the cases. For now, as far as the rooms, it is Mr. Brady's luggage in your room. You two will be sharing for this journey.
A berth.
In particular, it would be unusual for a man and a woman to share a room when they're not involved. But
Could be.
there's
Wink.
some strange things afoot, as you know, and well, we had thought as a group that your expertise would be particularly useful. So,
What
surprise.
what what do you mean as in that? And then I think I'm coming to the realization of what you've done, so I'm gonna run down the hallway, try and make my way up anything or to the side, the edge, to look out a window or something.
You careen down the halls with presumably both Miss Baker and Mr. Brady hot on in pursuit. You don't have far to go before you can turn and find your way to a steel-bound portal that you twist the handle for, that unlocks with a steely chink, and you pull it open and find yourself on a deck overlooking the rolling Atlantic Ocean. The shore a distant sight as New York City fades into the distance.
You get the pursuit map out. I say no. This can't be. This can't be. You wouldn't. And then I keep running. I run to where I get outside and to. I assume where the captain's. Oh, I look at the lifeboat. See how easy it is to unwinch one off.
Yeah.
I think
Nora will just like try and grab him by the arm and start hauling him back towards the room. Like, now, really,
I
we
would be
must
helping.
discuss this.
Yeah.
I try and shrug them
calmly.
off. I try and shrug them off and then make my way to the captain's, the main, steering.
main,
you know what I mean.
Yeah, captain's cabin, not cabin, but
Captain. Yeah.
I'll
Whatever.
start speaking more loudly for those around. It's like, now, sir, you really must take your medication and calm down, and try even more forcefully to drag him back.
Yeah, there are lifeboats on the deck, but they are fairly securely battened down and are not something that are going to be easily let loose. You turn and start walking purposefully
Running,
towards
sprinting, and be dodging as well, as much as I can.
running down the thing. There's quite a few people still out on deck as the ship is still fairly recently made its way out.
Barging through.
And people stare as you're panic-stricken, running along the deck towards the front of the ship.
Yeah, I'm just going to want to make my way to where the captain is, ask him to turn around.
Do I not get a chance to try and stop him?
I mean, that's up to you guys, I think. How do you guys want to...
Well, I don't know. I was just going to try and grab him and hold him back before he got too far.
I want to dodge, yeah, but Brady's
Okay,
helping.
well, I guess, yeah, give me like a dodge versus brawl.
And Brady's helping, so does she get any extra for that? Ooh, that's going to be hard to beat. Ooh.
Oh my gosh.
Nora goes chasing him down, Mr. Watts, and leaps. And at the last moment, Mr. Watts rolls to the side to and spins with a athletic twirl. Mr. Brady, do you want to also try?
Yeah, I failed. I'm too old.
Missing the grab, Nora will call out to the nearest ship hand or sailor or whatever, "Stop that man, he'll hurt himself!" and keep running towards him.
Say that. I need to speak to the captain immediately.
I guess give me a persuasion.
Me?
I guess no, mostly just Nora.
Fast talk?
Yeah, I guess I could argue it would be a fast talk. It's kind of fast talking.
Ooh.
Oh my god, these rolls. Okay, she yells out to a deckhand that's a little ways down, who turns and reacts with his first instinct. I guess give me another dodge, Mr. Watts.
Or what's the spot hidden do? Like, can I look for an alternate route past the person?
Well, no, we're just going to do a contested roll as to whether you're able to dodge. And you are, once again, he goes to jump and leap to get you. And this time you duck and roll and spring back to your feet as you reach the stairs that take you to the top deck, where the captain's cabin and helm are.
Can I try and I know charm's probably not the right action, but I guess persuade, it'll be a long shot if I have to use persuade, but just kind of call out something to him out of character, just trying to explain what I'd be doing.
Trying to calm me down, right?
Yeah, I think that's out of character with what that would be. I think that's basically an in character decision.
Okay.
Yeah, and that from there, I feel like that's just sort of like a decision thing.
Okay. I mean, I'll definitely try it. I just don't know situationally if it's something that he would actually.
I mean, you're up against my biggest fear in life.
That's true. I would literally have to charm you. My persuasion is 10, so I would fail miserably, I'm sure.
You never know. We've got a couple under 10s.
Stop that hot ass and you come back here and kiss me.
That's a lovely suit you're wearing, Mr. Watts. Oh, yes, I just picked it up.
Those were some excellent dodges.
Yeah.
Um, no, I could say that you could argue that you would be doing something that was charming in terms of buttering him up as to like how important it is that he needs to be there.
Okay.
I mean, to what degree you want to use roles against each other that are contested versus simply RP something like that out is really, I think, up to you guys.
Okay.
I think at this point it would only be RP. As I said, it's Thomas's biggest fear. He needs to speak to the captain to drop him
Okay.
off, or
I'll probably wait to say anything until he gets to the captain.
if anything, you put me in the brig, right?
Well, they don't have a brig, but they might confine you to quarters.
Yeah, Nora, seeing that she can't stop him, is just going to sort of slow down a little and try and look like she is more in control as he is all frazzled and panicked, and head towards the captain's quarters.
Would we have
So-
heard all this in the room?
Yeah, I think you would have heard the commotion since you're in adjoining rooms. Well, not adjoining, but
I
abutting,
would like to go see if Nora left her room open.
Peering out. I don't know, Nora, did you leave your room open?
No, I would have like slammed the door shut on my way out.
Okay. Well then, I'll make sure that it's shut and then just kind of sit in the hallway, watching the door.
You stand in the hallway, keeping an eye on all the rooms as this is going on. Mr. Watts, you make your way to the top of the stairs, and you find the door to the I just said the word, the bridge.
Bridge, yeah. So I thump twice on it and then open it.
The door does not open initially.
I bump a few more times. I need to speak to the captain, I yell.
The door pushes outwards towards you, and a crewman looks out and says, "Sir, we've only just got underway. The captain's a busy man. What is it?"
I need to speak to the captain immediately, and I try and jostle past him.
At what point would I catch up?
I'd say you'd be getting to the top of the stairs as he's trying to jostle past. I guess give me a dodge or a brawl to get past this guy. Since he's contesting that in terms of blocking your way, I will call that a tie that is in his favor. And as you try to push past, he bodily blocks your way in this small space. He's a large, burly fellow who is not going to be easily moved. And he's like, "Sir, the captain does not simply allow people to onto the bridge. What is it?"
I'll come up behind him. Mr. Watts, remember your manners. I apologize for this disturbance. He's he's a little out of sorts this morning, and he's rather paranoid. I'll take him back to his rooms if you can find a soldier to help, or a sailor to help me, perhaps.
Captain, I shouldn't be on this boat. I'm being held prisoner.
How we discussed this, your memory really is just awful. I'm sorry again about this. I'm sure the captain has better things to do. Just try and link arms once more and start tugging him away.
What's Nora's last name again? Baker. So Miss Baker, how could you possibly do this to me? I thought we were friends. I need to speak to the captain now. I need off this boat.
We are friends, and honestly, this is for your own good in the long run. But most importantly, we needed you here. Come.
Captain?
A white-bearded fellow peers out from the back and says, "Jenkins, what's going on over there? Who is that man?"
My name's Mr. Thomas Watts, and I shouldn't be on this boat. I'm here against my will.
You're expecting a dinner tonight, Mr. Watts.
What? I'm here against my will. How could I possibly be expected for anywhere?
Against your will, you boarded earlier, and you're invited to the captain's table to dine this evening. We're having lobster.
I was tricked, and I hate lobster. I don't hate lobster, but he's being a little bit petulant right now. I said, "Give me a lifeboat. Let me leave. I can still make my way back."
Lifeboats are for emergencies, and you will
This
not
is.
possibly get back.
You will never make it back to shore at this point. You really don't have a choice, Mr. Watts.
We'll never make it to England. There's stuff in this ocean you know nothing about.
All the better that we have your expertise, then, isn't it?
My expertise would be better used if I'm alive. We will not make this trip alive. It's what happened to my family.
And you
My father.
survived, did you not?
Because I was a child. Mothers and children were allowed to leave. And now,
I will
I am not.
personally get you on a lifeboat. Let's go.
This thing would never have let lifeboats go before, I'm telling you. I need off this boat. And then I shrug off the sailor and oomph my way past Nora back down the stairs to look over the deck at the ocean and just stare into it.
Nora will follow sort of slowly and stand a few feet away from him down the railing, and after a moment or two, just sort of pull a flask of liquor out of one of her pockets and just like reach over and stick it in his jacket pocket.
Kind of give you a cold shoulder, mutter, "You're lucky you're abroad."
I'd probably seeing everything happen and how distraught he is and upset. I'd probably try and him peering over into looking out into the ocean. I'd get up next to him and try and charm him to maybe calm him down and kind of bring him back to his senses. Mr. Watts, to some degree, you have to think about this as a way for you to like kind of prove your story, kind of show everyone that you're not this crazy person that has an agenda to and believes in all these crazy wacky things. Like this is a chance for you to kind of set your story straight and for people to make people believe that there's something else and it's not just a crazy man believing in fairy tales.
So you're telling me that I can prove myself not being crazy when this thing will just kill everything? We won't survive this. On top of that, we're also carrying something of the mythos, no doubt. What Admiral Wick was wanting us to transport, meaning it's like a homing beacon for anything dangerous. We saw what happened before. So now we're just asking for it. And who knows, on my Titanic journey over here, we will probably be carrying something too, which attracted this thing. And now we're just asking for death.
But you don't know we'll die. All the things we've been through this far, there's so many different times we could have died and yet we didn't. And
The
it's likely
Titanic-
because you were there too.
No, I did nothing. I was a child. The Titanic was what, 4 or 5 times bigger than this boat? I don't actually know, Mike. How much big was it?
Yeah, it is actually. This is not a large boat.
No, it's 4 or 5 times bigger. We're lucky that we survived. Even after the Titanic went down and there were those lifeboats, there's so many bodies floating, freezing. This thing was just pulling them under one at a time. Even the lifeboats were being pulled under. We're lucky we got away.
Well, that was then. This is now. You know what to expect if it were to happen, and
Yeah, death.
but you don't know that.
I pretty much guarantee it. We are doomed. We are literally sailing to our deaths. That's why I said no before. That's why I didn't want to be here. That's why do I see anything in the water? I'm gonna imagine I did. It's probably a dolphin. But look down there, Brady. What do you see? What can you tell me?
Is there actually something in the water?
Give you a spot hidden. There is some things in the water. There's sort of fish-like things that are maybe a dolphin size that you see occasionally breach the surface and drop underneath.
Can
Well,
you tell me what that is?
I feel like if it was something, if it was something like you're thinking it is, we'd probably already know about it. Just like
What
on land, there's other fauna in the water. There's things, seals, dolphins.
I'm asking you to look past the surface level. What do you see below? I'm going into more psychological deep
Yeah.
right now.
I would note, in terms of the Titanic comparison, this vessel has made many transatlantic voyages quite safely.
Whilst transporting something from the mythos, might I ask?
Something that the captain mentioned that he has experience with.
Well, not to me, he hasn't.
No,
That's true.
That's what.
Watt starts getting all. But what do you see beneath? Nora will just sort of lean in for a moment. Someone who's so eager to plumb the mysteries of the world, I would be disappointed to think that this one is beyond you. But I'll let you come to it in your own time. Hopefully you can forgive me, but I do think we will need you, and you're part of this story no matter what you would like.
And if
This
I
is your
refuse to
mystery
help,
to solve.
and if I refuse to help,
You're here, but we can't force you to do anything.
well,
If you
apparently
decide to
can't I?
simply sulk, then that's up to you. But I think you will enjoy this if you can push past your fears and use that brain of yours to uncover the mysteries that you're already so deep into.
Betrayed by my what I thought to be best friend, one of my only friends at that, to be put into my deepest fear that I've been vocal about, facing the death of my father, being forced to do that again against my own will. You feel I might enjoy this?
You can enjoy things if you push past the boundaries you place on yourself. I understand what I did was a betrayal, and I am sorry for it.
I turn my back to her again and still looking at the water. There, you see that? And I'm pointing at the water to Brady again.
Well, she's not the only one that made this choice. It was kind of a group decision, so we all share in the guilt.
No, Mr. Brady, that's kind of you, but it's not entirely true. I was the one who deceived him in the end, and this is my betrayal. But I hope you can come to see that it was done with the hopes that this will, in the end, help you solve a mystery that has plagued you and affected you your entire life.
Can you
But
imagine floating, helpless, not knowing what's underneath?
I can imagine many situations that made me feel helpless, and most of them have been with you present, and usually pushing us forward. So, if you want to talk about being helpless, there are things we could discuss. Not going to spend the next hour arguing with you. We have a dinner reservation in 2 hours, and I hope we will see you there. I'm going to go make sure our cargo is safe.
Can I ask that Flinders makes an appearance with a coffee behind me?
Yeah, sure. As you're making your way back down into the ship, from behind you, you hear, Mr. Watts! It's good to see you up and around.
Flinders? What in
It is
the...
I.
I have all those books that have gone missing.
What are you doing here as well? You betrayed me too?
What? Betray you? Never, never, sir. I have come to help you.
I pull Flinders aside and say, what exactly has happened here? Hush,
Well, I
hush.
do believe that the mole people of the sea have something to do with this. Sea mole people.
There'd be more horse-like people. Seahorses. Flinders, you fool.
Riding seahorses, sir, what have you seen?
Too much, Flinders, and that's why we should not be on here. So what I need you to do is find us a way off this boat and back to land. That is your...
Indeed,
that
sir,
is
I'll
what I'm
get right
tasked with.
on it. You can trust me.
And also,
Yeah.
while you're at it, keep an ear out down there. See if there's any talk about anything about stealing boxes or packages. Just be a good lad and do that as well.
Steal some packages.
No.
Right on it.
Listen. No, Flinders, I grab him by the collar. I said, listen out for people, shady characters who want to steal packages or have been.
Ah, yes. I'll be right on that.
Give me that coffee and on your way.
He hands you the coffee. He heads off down the deck and disappears around a corner.
I head back to my room and lock the door.
It's also Brady's
And-
room.
I know. I'm knocking him out. Lock the door, leave the key in it, and then I'm going to try and open that trunk that's in my room.
The trunk is locked.
Can I pick it? I don't have a pick lock. Never mind.
Try to force it, but otherwise, yeah, I don't think you have the knowledge to pick a lock.
I just kick it to the side and just
Stub your toe so good.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Would you
If they're
have said
brooding.
anything to me as you walked through the
Sorry?
hallway? I was in the
Maybe.
hallway.
I've met
I
you
was
once,
behind
and
too.
briefly.
Yeah.
Oh, so I would have seen you.
Yeah, you would have stomped past him.
I'd be like, okay, so of course you two would be here as well. Just walk past. Stupid friends.
I'll just give him a nod as he walks by.
And you too. Ugh. Ugh. We haven't had the nicest interactions yet, have we?
Apparently not.
Yeah. I
Whenever
think-
he shut his door, kind of half leaning out, I said, "I'll grow on you," and then shut the door.
Or did you
and
hear
go back in.
You hear like a shuffle, a kick, and then and then that's it.
Once Nora was back, I would have taken one of the cases into our room, so that there's now just one in each.
Alrighty. Well, with that, I think it's probably a good point for a 5-minute break. All right, we're back. So we've got Mr. Watts stewing in his room, having locked the door with Mr. Draper just outside, and Mr. Brady, Mr. Wright, and Miss Baker, presumably either on their way back or back now. And do you have further back and forth to do, or do you want to kill some time before you try to cajole Mr. Wright into coming to dinner?
What's into coming to
Mr.
dinner?
Watts. Sorry, I keep doing the W's mixed up. I don't know why. Somehow, just
The only thing Watts will be doing is he's going to go through his baggage, get out the most tattered looking clothes that he has to wear, and some rope, and he's going to try and bind his hands together. And that's how he's reluctantly going to go to dinner with everyone as a statement.
oh jeez. It's no easy task binding your hands together.
No, it's probably going to be a bad job, but he's going to. It's there to make a point, not to be.
You find some more bedraggled clothes. I don't know if you have any rope around.
I might have some rope in my possessions. Who knows? Everyone's got rope, no? Soap. No,
It's not D&D, so
it's true.
I feel like that's a bit of a stretch as to having just a random bunch of rope. You could have shoelaces. I'll say you could pull your
Yeah.
shoelaces.
Alright. I use shoelaces.
What are your
Or
extra bits?
I'll rip a piece of my bed sheet, like a string of it.
Oh,
Like,
okay. Great. All right. I like it. So you guys
um,
hear various clattering and clanging coming from inside the room as Mr. Watts is getting ready to cause a scene.
Imagine like 15 minutes before we're expected to leave for dinner. I'll probably knock on his door.
Well, a rap comes at the door, Mr. Watts.
what?
Mr. Watts, it's William Wright. Would you mind speaking with me just for a minute?
Reluctantly open the door. You see me, how ridiculous I look.
He hides his surprise. Uh, do you have the ramshackle like bindings already set up, or were you waiting for that?
I'm trying. You can see me. I'm trying to tighten it with my teeth and stuff.
Um, we're whether you choose uh to go along with this endeavor or not, uh, there are some things to enjoy here. This dinner, at the very least, will make this uh, a little bit less painful. I know how much you enjoyed seafood at Wick's place.
Well, I'm sure my father felt the same when he had his meal with the captain and met his untimely end on a boat.
Right. I imagine this will be very different. For one, the ship's much smaller, more maneuverable, and I met with the captain. He's very trustworthy, and he's experienced with transporting these kinds of goods. I know it won't take the pain out of uh, the betrayal, but at the very least, this isn't folly. It's been planned out, and the the experience is there. Wick is unsavory as yet it is. He's loath to lose any of his goods. He wouldn't have sent this over if he didn't think it would make it to his destination.
One who cares so much about the goods would transport it themselves, would they not? What is
I
it to him if it goes down? It's just
don't think he's
another
the type
line.
of man to ever do anything personally. He has people for things. I've encountered their kind quite often in my career.
Watts did feel slightly better when you mentioned about it being smaller and more maneuverable. He didn't think of that. Um, but I says, well, I guess you're here to escort me to dinner as your prisoner.
Kind of looks at your hands again, finally understanding what the hell you were doing. Well, if we are to play the part, I do have handcuffs, and he whips out like a pair.
Excellent. And I'll put them on. You have the key, right?
Of course.
The key?
Exactly. Oh, yeah, true. I'll listen to what he has to say, but I can't promise that I'm going to be of any help with you.
All I ask is that you enjoy the dinner.
I don't think I will. But I appreciate you caring that much, not betraying the trust of somebody who's kept you all alive previously.
I will escort him to the quarters whenever it's time.
I would have probably yelled at the last bit, like no, after I said kept you alive previously, and I would have yelled, knowing full well what I went through, and kick the case again, like stamp, kick on it. would have been
I s-
yelled.
seeing you kick the case, I'll
Yeah.
half pop inside, but not obvious. I'm not trying to go inside, and I'll kind of half whisper, since you are here, and I'll kind of poke my head out and make sure no one's paying attention, like there's nobody looking. Then I'll say we have created a bit of a ruse with our cargo. I would be uh I would be careful with these cases and give them a knowing look before heading back to my room.
Say, well, at least you listened to the only one piece of advice I gave at Abner Wick's office.
It was a good suggestion.
Do I have it?
I don't think I know.
Yeah, none of us know. That's the idea of the ruse.
I'll say one of us has it. I'm certain we'll know if we spend any amount of time alone with it.
I was under the impression that it was in Mr. Draper's one.
You don't know, Mike. We've kept it secret from you on purpose.
I need to know as to who's going to have weird dreams.
We could all do sanity rolls at the same time.
And then you don't know who
I
you're
can
giving
describe what happens to the person who his room it is in, and then that person has to apply it to their sheets, I suppose.
I mean, really, if there's anyone in the game who can be expected not to metagame, it's the DM.
Yeah, it's a question.
I was joking.
The least trustworthy person. I'm happy not going to the dinner.
You did bring up like whenever you kick the case and we start talking about it, probably continue the conversation a little bit and say, I'm not sure how much Nora's talked to you about it, but this object is. Do you mind if I come in just for a minute?
I see your pyramid thing again. Your obsidian piece. Just ever so briefly.
Hucks it out the window.
Kind of
No.
pats it, his pocket that it's in.
I'm handcuffed as well, remember? So I can't exactly do much.
You make a good point. Okay.
I hold it and walk over to the case, hold my fist close to the case. Anything happen? Probably not. Chuck it back to right.
I
Come
catch
in.
it carefully. I'll shut the door behind me and say, I've never kind of glance at the case and then I'll hold it next to it. I've never actually had anyone try it. I don't know if it works with other people. And I assume it doesn't glow or not glow, but doesn't get warm whenever I have it next to it.
Hand it back to me 1 second.
Okay.
And I pull out my crystallized egg thing.
What is that?
DM, do I feel anything?
Next to the specific case that's in your room?
The egg that I have.
Oh, dear, the egg. Sorry. Yes, as you bring them closer together, the obsidian heats up and starts to vibrate at a high rate.
Chuck it back to right. Chuck it that in a way you're going to catch it with my one hand. Yep, works for me.
That's.
I believe it did work in the previous campaign. Like I think I dropped your thing before.
Oh, that would have been with like the papers, wasn't it?
Yeah,
that's when we first kind of messed with it.
I said, "Yep, certainly works for me." And I hand you my egg.
We'll circle back to this, but pointing at, gesturing at the egg, but I'll say this object we're transporting. It's very unusual. We haven't opened it or anything, but when we when we slept, we spent the first night with it in the same room. I f- it has some kind of effect, and even
Weird
just
dreams, visions.
I'm not sure. I wasn't on watch, but just traveling with it, it's it's very hard to describe. It seems to freeze time, but not quite because the first time uh everything seemed frozen in place, and uh I of course I to pass the time I I lit a cigarette, but it it wasn't in my hand when the uh when time seemed to continue, but the it happened again just approaching the ship, uh, and it was still in my hand this time. So I don't know if it's the effects getting stronger or if repeated exposure uh, makes it stronger. But whatever this thing is, it's obviously very powerful.
The object or your obsidian piece, sorry.
Absent-mindedly, probably still fiddling with it. He'll put it back in his pocket and say, the object we're transporting.
Well, Mr. Wright, to hear those types of effects does not surprise me at all. Similar things have happened to me with the ring that I have, as well as feeling some strange effects with this egg that I purchased off Abnorwick, as well as this imprisoned case that I touched of the first time I came across these otherworldly beings, visions, outside of your body feelings.
You are full of surprises, Mr. West.
Uh,
But this is the first time I've experienced something quite like this.
well, it seems to have built a connection with you, and the closer you are to it, the stronger this connection will continue to build, I assume.
It's very disconcerting. I can't say that I look forward to experience it again.
Do I have any marks on my arms, my forearms from that dream?
Uh, like actual like cuts, no. But there is a someone like almost like it seems like an allergic reaction, where there's like some redness.
I try and rub my forearms, but I can't because I'm handcuffed. But I show like I've got these rashes on my arms. Like, yeah, exactly. I've got these rashes on my arms. Like these moments in time that you experience, it's not purely mental, from my experience. You may feel something may have happened in your mind and your mind only, but these are other dimensions. Would I know that, or would I think otherworldly?
I don't know. I mean, I think that's a reasonable jump for your character to make.
These things are from
Whether
other
you would
dimensions.
assume planets, planes, dimensions, or some other kind of thing is entirely up to you.
Yeah, I'm gonna say that from my research, I've come to find that there are other worlds of existence similar to our own, completely different to our own, that are all happening at the exact same time in the same space, but not in the same space, if that makes sense. And when you feel that these things are not happening and it's just your mind, they may very well be actually happening and you're connected to it.
It's a chilling thought. It
As our
definitely felt like we were being observed.
sea mole people, I've heard about these sea mole people that are around.
Oh Lord, not you two. Have you been talking with Flinders during our hiatus.
You know, I know people make fun of Flinders, but he's come to earn my trust. Well, until I was found imprisoned on this vessel of death.
About that, there's really no need for me to hold this. I take the key and hand it to him. The key to the handcuffs.
Swallow it. No, I'm just kidding. I don't. No, I don't do that.
Good thing you got a lockpick.
Yeah, I'll put the key in my top pocket, or pocket, safer pocket, where I know it's not going to fall out. That's fine. It's just more of a statement than anything. I mean, I was tricked to be here. I feel like we're imprisoned on a, as I say, I call it the vessel of death now. That's where we're headed. So, as you say, play to the part. This could be very well our last meal, so
I do have a feeling that this journey will be unpleasant, but I don't think this is the end of our journey.
sure hope so. But
And if it were to be, I would imagine we'd have to get farther away from shore. So, I'm tonight at least would be should be good rest.
Tonight we dine, for tomorrow we may die.
I've just never really had friends growing up, Mr. Wright, and through the experiences that I've had with Miss Roberts, Miss Baker. I'm not thinking of Nora Roberts. She's a writer. I'm pretty sure there's some of her books in front of me right there. So, subliminal.
Saying the thing you see.
Yeah, Miss Baker. This betrayal is like none other I've ever experienced before in my life, and I thought she was a real friend, if you know.
It he does look genuinely guilty. It was quite cold, but these things that we deal with, I think they're beyond, or they're more important than any of us. I think to get to the bottom of all of this.
I feel like a hussy used for what I have to offer rather than appreciated for who I am.
Well, I didn't make the decision myself. None of us are blameless, of course.
Well,
and
Nora did say it was all her, and Brady tried to say the same thing as you did. Has Brady tried to get back in the room yet? Because like I had it locked until this moment.
Yeah, is he just standing around, just out of sight around the corner?
I don't actually know where I'd be at this time because how much time would have transpired since him being on the deck and us trying to kind of comfort him?
Probably like hour and a half.
Hour and a half.
Were you changed for dinner?
Yeah, I guess I would be probably changed for dinner and ready to head up. I could probably see myself stopping by. Maybe kind of outside the door, waiting for everyone to come.
It's alright. I just don't know how I could trust anyone again. To be honest, I mean, if you were part of this ruse to get me on board, what is your biggest fear, might I ask?
there's a lot to fear in this world, but
There's a lot of fear in other worlds as well that you are now just beginning to experience.
I think the greatest fear for most people is the unknown. And that's why I always endeavor to bring a light to things that people try to keep hidden.
That's why you're a reporter, I see.
And whether you feel robbed of this decision or not, I do believe that we are all where we're supposed to be. At this moment, at least.
Be a waffle. Well,
Just
waffles
lost
around
the
then?
sound. 1 second.
And out of character, I don't remember. Did we have this conversation about
Yeah, I fixed it.
like all of us together about getting Watts drunk and shanghaiing him, or was that kind of out of character stuff?
I think you're all aware of how you're going to do it.
Yeah,
But-
no, I think that was in character. Like that.
That's right. We kind of
you guys
coordinated.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't like an absolute ironclad plan, but it was the gist of it was like to essentially bamboozle him onto the boat in some way, and so that he would be stuck.
Yeah, like you were all aware that Nora was going to do this, but as far as the specific details of it, I feel like that's pretty much on her because she
At least
took the
the
initiative.
its extent to know where not to be.
Yeah, and like
That's right.
the actual execution of what happened was pretty much on her, but she did keep you guys at least somewhat in the loop.
Well, Mr. Wright, I am undecided if I want to be a part of this. But dinner does await. Might as well make our way.
And I escort him.
If we
All
walk
right,
past
so
the
the
ocean,
four
can I
of you-
stare down? And do I see anything?
So on your way?
Yeah, on my way. I'm going to be always staring at the water. Every time I'm near the water, I'll be staring.
You don't particularly need to go to the water. Like there's an indoor passage that takes you down to the dining hall. I suppose you might catch the odd glimpse through a porthole, but there wouldn't be many.
It's not
Once
enough.
you were down into the room, at least.
Yeah, not enough to stare at it.
So the four of you, with Miss Baker being left, correct? Make your way down. You find the dining hall bustling with people ready for their first meal at sea on this voyage. As everyone finds their seat, waiters are moving among the tables, filling glasses and answering questions about the menu. You enter the room at the far side. And how do you proceed? Oh, sorry. I will note at the far side of the room, the captain's table stands apart. 4 people are seated: the captain, his purser, and 2 women that you do not know.
Excellent. I will hold or pull open a seat next to one of the ladies and offer it to Mr. Watts.
The captain and his purser stand as you approach, waiting for. Oh, well, never mind. I had a thing about Miss Baker. Doesn't apply. The 2 women smile as you approach. One is dressed in a very modern style with a loose, flowing blue dress that is clearly expensively hand-tailored, fine jewelry, and a ribbon around her head holding a large blue feather. She has a short-cut, curly hair, pale skin, and piercing blue eyes. The woman to her side is much more demure, only briefly making eye contact before returning to her inspection of the place settings in front of her. Her cream-colored dress is simpler in style, and she wears less ostentatious jewelry. Her black hair is cut in a bob, and her dark eyes peer out when she briefly looks up at your arrival. The captain speaks up. Thank you for joining me tonight. If you have not already met him, this is my purser, Mr. Barnes. And joining us is Mrs. Hastings and her lady-in-waiting, Miss Green.
My notebook.
No notes. At least we have the VODs.
Yeah, I've got the one.
Is that an extra computer behind you? I just suddenly...
Yeah. I built this for my friend's son. It's like my old motherboard, RAM, CPU. And power unit. They bought their own their own hard drive and then graphics card. I said to them
Nice.
to buy an SSD to put Windows on it, but then he broke his monitor, played fight with his brother, and then all of a sudden Windows doesn't work. So I assume that he deleted a System32 file or something. So once I installed Windows on the new hard drive, it then repaired the other hard drive, which wouldn't repair on its own until I installed the new Windows. And now I've got 2 versions of Windows on this machine. I need to delete one.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, anyway, that was a quick story of why there's another machine here.
It was.
Anyway,
Miss
but how do you guys
Hastings and Miss Green, right?
sorry,
you
yes. It's Mrs. Hastings and Miss Green, her lady in waiting.
Mrs. Hastings, okay. Well, hello, I'm Prisoner Watts. As I sit down.
She says, "Ooh." Mrs. Hastings says, "Prisoner, do tell. How do you find yourself in such lush surroundings, my sir prisoner?"
You know, the usual. Betrayed by your best friends. End up here. What more is to tell? It's Nora. Is Nora there?
Perfect.
That's why he looks for Nora. If Nora wasn't there, then he would sit where Mr. Wright offered me to sit. If she was sat there, I would have gone the opposite away from her.
I'll sit next to him.
I will pull up the chair next to Mr. Wright and sit down.
I'll awkwardly bum shuffle towards the table because I don't have my hands.
Yeah.
I'm
Right, Draper and Brady. Do you introduce yourselves?
yeah, that's yeah. I'm Mr. Wright. I'm a journalist for the Arkham paper.
I am Benjamin Brady. I am a retired professor. Nice to meet you.
A pleasure indeed," says Mrs. Hastings, and she says, "Well, myself, well, I suppose I'm a lady of leisure. I come from a well-established family back in England, and I have been here. I've been here visiting some of my extended relations in New England." And then she turns and says, "Mr. Brady, I believe I've read some of your papers. I'm something of an amateur antiquarian myself. I definitely respect your work. What brings you on this trip?"
Oh, that's good news to hear. I appreciate it. Thank you. Just here with friends and kind of enjoying our time here. Just a trip across the pond.
"Oh, really? It's not a professional endeavor then?"
I always see any opportunity as maybe a or any trip to as an opportunity of maybe furthering my expertise. There might be something along the way.
Always looking for an opportunity to explore the unknown. I'm sure you're a man with a of education that, much like myself, is always looking for new opportunities. I was doing some shopping and exploration of my own as I was visiting the colonies here.
Were you? What was your name again? Sorry.
Mrs. Hastings.
Mrs. Hastings. Okay. And how long have you been studying or of antiques and or history?
Oh, a couple decades now. My husband leaves me to my own devices to explore my own interests, and well, the antiquities are of great interest to me. I've traveled greatly across Europe and the Mediterranean, only just recently making my way to the Americas.
Okay. So what brings you on this trip?
Returning home. I've had a good stay and found a few interesting items of my own to bring home, and I head back now.
Okay. Maybe we can talk further sometime soon during this
We
trip.
have a whole dinner ahead of us. I'd love to know more about if you've had any interesting findings recently.
Sure. Sure. Yeah, we could definitely talk about that.
Found that you can't trust people in America. As I jump into my dinner roll.
She says, "Indeed, Americans always shooting from the hip, as it were. I do love your pictures, though. Moving pictures, quite the enjoying spectacle."
Are they not in England yet?
Not as commonly, but they are slowly appearing more and more.
I'll be chewing my
Basically, that
dinner
yeah,
roll.
like movies had also been in England from like the late 1800s, but like popular movies were like only sort of kind of ramping up through this period.
There's talk of it being used for the news someday. I've seen some fellow journalists extend to taking pictures of the streets in sequence.
Truly, as a source of news and documentation, it will be a revolution.
I think we're a long ways from that, but someday we'll see something of the sort.
The silent images do leave something to be wanted when you can't hear what is going on in the scenes.
It's true. There are many talented musicians that make it at least add some feeling to what you're saying.
Indeed, I've seen some good accompaniment by talented pianists in a few of the silent movies that I have seen.
Nothing will replace theaters, live theater shows.
It's true, and the best live theater in the world is to be found in London. Surely you'll be making your way there once we dock.
Once we dock.
Yeah, I
You
mean,
laugh, but this is sure to be a safe trip. The SS President Van Buren has made this trip many times over.
I bite my tongue.
do you have some suggestions of what to see when we arrive, other than the theater? This is my first trip across the sea.
Oh, well, you must see Buckingham Palace. I suppose you must see Buckingham Palace from the outside. It is quite the sight to behold. Otherwise, make sure that you head to the center of London for some shopping and taking in the sights. It is a filthy place, but certainly somewhere that there's no end of entertainment to be had.
Hastings. Is that any relation to the Battle of Hastings at all? 1066, you know?
It's like, oh, yes, indeed. My family goes back in a long line or my husband's family goes back as a long line of warriors who have served the crown well.
Were you named after the place, or
It tends to be the other way around, I thought.
place is named after? Oh. What's Miss Green doing?
What's Miss Green doing? Miss Green is awaiting the arrival of the first course and otherwise doing her best to not engage.
Smile at her.
Which person did I set him next to?
He sat her next to Mrs. Hastings.
You sat me next to Mrs. Hastings.
Yeah,
It was one of the ladies. It was for fun.
yeah. And Miss Green is next to the purser, so the rest of you are around the table towards around the side towards the captain.
Set you next to, or set the dude in tatters and handcuffs next to the fancy people.
Was Miss Green introduced as the what do you call her?
Lady in waiting.
Was she introduced as the lady in waiting, or
Yes.
okay? What is a lady in waiting, Miss Green?
Well, I do not travel on my own. My husband sees to it that I have some accompaniment when I go abroad. My lady here, Miss Green, is well, both a friend, companion, and servant in a way, ensuring that my various matters are taken care of, and that I am safely traveled from place to place.
I guess you could perhaps call me a man in waiting then, since I've servant to these people.
Oh, you don't seem nearly educated. I mean, I wouldn't presuppose such a thing on you.
Nearly
Mr.
as
Watts
educated.
is a man of many skills and talents. He's
Yeah, laughs
been
merely and
more than
says, "Oh,
helpful.
sure."
Is she wearing any jewelry or symbolism of occult or otherwise mythos? Alien, sorry.
Give me an occult roll.
Occult. It's been a long time. Where are you? There you are. How the hell am I failing an occult roll?
The worst possible roll. The
Yeah,
worst.
Dang.
At least you get to improve it.
I failed it.
That's,
I can't improve.
oh no,
Well-
yeah, it's the opposite.
Well, I mean, like,
Yeah, it should be easy to. Oh no, it's the opposite. So really, honestly, at an 80, like he should be. It should have. It'll be hard to succeed once he succeeds to then improve it. Or hard to fail
Yeah.
to succeed anyway. She does have a bunch of rather interesting jewelry that you do note, but nothing stands out to you in terms of its occult significance.
Try again after a few drinks. Yeah, see if it comes to me. I reach over, take another dinner roll, pour myself a drink if there's drinks there, or just being not pleasant.
Next.
Mr. Wright, roll me an education roll.
Ooh. What?
Ha!
My
Wow.
rolls tonight.
All right, fine.
What do you mean by not educated, Mrs. Hastings?
Well, you were educated in America, were you not?
Not by choice. I was a survivor of the Titanic.
Oh, wow, that's incredible. How did you find your way to shore then in one of the lifeboats as a child?
Yes, I was 14 at the time. I was forced against my will after the Titanic was taken down by a creature.
A creature, you say? Was it not an iceberg? That's what I had heard from the papers.
And you say I'm the non-educated one. But no, there was something in the waters that day, and it took down the Titanic. It took down people who are in the waters after the fact, and took down multiple lifeboats as well. They say that there wasn't enough lifeboats on board the Titanic, but I can assure you there was enough for everyone. But the ones that actually made it back, well, we were one of the lucky ones. Which is why you'll see that I did not want to be on this vessel at all. This vessel of death that awaits us.
I can understand your apprehension, but you should know that sea travel is one of the safest ways to travel these days. The Titanic was a horrible tragedy and an unusual one at that.
Usual indeed, and this thing, and I just stopped talking. Captain, are we making? Are we docking anywhere en route on voyage, or are we? Are we headed there direct?
The captain speaks up, having been listening to your conversation, and says, "It's like, no, we are most definitely going directly to England. We will be stopping first at one of the ports on the west side of the Isles, but before we head on into London."
Might I have a private audience with you after, Captain?
I'm a very busy man. If you have something to say, I suppose now is the time to say it. I might have some time to make for you tomorrow, but I can't promise anything.
It's a conversation not to be had by ears we cannot otherwise know or trust. No disrespect intended to anybody.
The captain
Uh,
did seem like quite whispering. The captain did seem like quite the trustworthy sort.
And Mrs. Hastings, Miss Green, the purser, and this other character's now part of our group.
There is that.
The captain cuts in and says, "It's like I have been sailing between the Americas, Africas, and Europe and the United Kingdom for quite a few decades now. I served in the Great War with distinction, and I pride myself on seeing vessels safely to port."
I'm sure you do, Captain. It's not what I want to talk to you about, though.
Well, then out with it, man.
I cannot, in good conscience, be able to talk freely in front of people I've met 10 minutes ago. As I'm jingling my chains around.
Says he coughs a little bit and says, "Well, we'll just try and enjoy this meal." And at this point, the first soups are being dropped, being placed down in front of each of you. It says, "We'll see if we can make some time to discuss whatever problems you have further in the coming days. We do have some time yet at sea before we find our way to our port."
How long is the journey, since this vessel of yours is smaller and more nimble, faster than the Titanic? Was it faster than Titanic? I feel like the Titanic was like one of the fastest vessels ever made.
No, yeah, it's not faster than the Titanic. He says the passage time 14 days. We should be arriving in Plymouth 2 weeks from now, and in the early morning.
And the North Atlantic. No, where did the Titanic go down?
In the Northern Atlantic.
Yeah, as I say, and how long to the Northern Atlantic, Captain?
We'll be taking a more southern route, given the time of year. Well, ostensibly to avoid icebergs.
Of course, but that's not the what main worry you should have, Captain. But how long until we're in the vicinity of that area, if you don't mind?
Well, we shouldn't ever be in the vicinity of that area exactly, but our closest point of passage, well, probably about 11 days, maybe 10.
Interesting. Thank you. That's all I wanted to know for now. And I turn to Bright and whisper, 10 days till our death, I guess.
Oh, I'm wrong. It's about 6 days.
6 days to our
The Titanic
Okay.
sank closer to New York than it did to England.
Yeah. I gave us 6 days. Is what I'll say to Mr. Graham.
Will certainly be more interesting. And to the captain, I say, we're of course very grateful for your hospitality, and it's an honor that you invited us up here.
He says he says it's like, well, I consider you to some extent esteemed guests. I do understand that for some of you this passage is an important one, and well, we shan't go into unnecessary details, but do know that I have invited Our Lady here to join us because she is somebody of notable import herself. To which she pipes up and says, "Sir, I am just a woman of some wealth, passing back to the UK, my homeland. It's nothing to be trifled with, but there's no major thing to be not trifled with, to be concerned with. But I do value that you have invited me for dinner this evening, along with my lady."
Was that to me?
No, to the captain.
Yeah.
And he coughs. I'll say with this, Mr. Brady, you can also give me an education roll.
No whammies. Here we go. Education's at the top in one of the boxes in the middle.
Skill.
Oh,
It's a.
wow.
Dang, 275's failed.
All right. Neither of you know who this is.
Who?
You don't know.
I'll say, Miss Hastings, you expressed interest in interesting tales. What kind of tales were you hoping to hear?
She says, "Mrs. Hastings, sir, I am a happily married woman.
Of
But
course.
I do relish tales of the occult and interesting artifacts and histories. Why, I was able to lay my hands on a particularly notable tome from one such one artifact dealer back in New York City before I departed."
The occult, you say? Well, my friend's Watsier happens to be probably the most experienced in those matters that I know personally.
Absolutely. As I'm dipping a bread roll into the soup and then picking up the bowl and drinking straight from it.
She, Miss Green coughs a bit at your impropriety. Mrs. Hastings leans across and, in a conspiratorial tone, says, "Tell me, have you heard of the Cathat Aquadigin?"
Do I know of the tale of Aquadigin?
Give me an occult roll. With it a success, you know it to be a tome that is said to be in the there's only one copy existent, and it is held within the British Museum's archives.
I'll relay that. So of course I've heard of it, and not while I've had my hands on a tome. I know there is one in existence at the British Museum.
Well, it is true that there is a copy in the British Museum, but did you know that there is more than one? And the one that I have recently purchased, I am pretty sure, has additional pages in it. The Middle English translation from the 14th century that they have is incomplete.
Interesting. So, do you mind if we switch places as to whoever is sat next to Miss Green?
So Miss Green, you're on one side, Mrs. Hastings is in the middle, and then Miss Green is next to her.
Oh, so I'd be literally having to ask
Yeah,
Mrs.
you're
Hastings
right.
or the purser.
You are right next to so either you'd be switching with the purser to be next to Miss Green, or you're already next to Mrs. Hastings.
I sat you down next to Miss Hastings already.
Yeah, I know. I'm gonna ask to switch places with the purser. I'm gonna take my handcuffs off because she has piqued my interest.
Oh, it's all coming together.
The purser looks disgruntled at your request and says the seat to the right of the captain is traditionally for the purser or his first mate.
Prisoner's last request, as I dangle the chains.
And he simply shakes his head and returns to his meal.
Captain, can you please accept this one request that I have?
To sit next to me, sir.
Not to you, to Miss Green here. There's some things I'd like to discuss with her from the
It
conversation
was
we
Mrs.
just had.
Hastings who was saying that she has
Oh,
book.
I thought it was Miss Green who'd said it.
No,
Sorry,
Miss
my
Green.
bad.
Sorry, only briefly cut in before Mrs. Hastings took back over.
Oh, okay, then I'll retract everything that just happened there. Stay in my seat.
Sorry, that's why I'm confused. Yeah, sorry, I suppose I
Yeah.
wasn't clear. I switched back to Mrs. Hastings.
I thought, okay, yeah, okay.
Miss Green is
Yeah.
the lady in waiting.
Your accents were quite similar.
I know. I'm not doing a very good job.
No, you're fine. I'm just joking with you. Oh, that's very interesting, Mrs. Hastings. Extra pages, you say, and Middle Old English, you said? Are you sure it's
The
in
Middle
English? That's
English from the 14th century, so it is not the oldest tome. It is a translation from the original Latin, I am told.
You have the original Latin?
Oh, the original Latin? Have you not heard, sir?
They are destroyed?
Not destroyed, but my sources tell me that it too is in the hands of the British Museum. But the original Latin tome, it is bound in human skin.
Does make sense. I probably do know that. And you bought a copy. And what was it called again? It was the
Cathat Aquadigen.
okay. Aquadigen.
I'll put it in there.
Does just like those words alone, does that trigger anything Arlean to me? Apparently I know Arlean better than my own language now, so
Yeah, I guess, which is hilarious. Solid study. Yeah, sure. Give me an Arlian roll. You know that the translation for this is somewhat related to Arlean, and indicates that this is and that it would be translated as the Book of the Deep Ones.
okay, so I'll say so. I mean, I haven't seen it, but the direct translation that I am aware of is the Book of the Deep Ones. I assume that's how you've translated it yourself.
And that's very incisive of you. The way that I had been reading it was well, maybe more lyrical in some ways. To me, it was best read as the Book of the Sea Children.
Yes, I can see how one would come to that conclusion. I bet I can assure you it is the deep ones that it is not just an occult deciphering, it is also related to something else. You probably have never heard of it anyway. So
Oh, do tell me. I'm always interested in new knowledge about it. I've been studying the book for some weeks now.
have you ever heard of the language Alia?
The language, no. The place, yes.
And the language Alian, sorry.
Well, no, but she's saying yes,
Yeah.
that she does not know of the language, simply of the mentions of the place.
Well, the place that once was, what it still is, who knows? But they had their own language, as did the Aztecs, as did the um, Incas, the old Egyptians. They all had their own languages, and that particular occult tome that you are talking to does have it does sync up with the deciphering of Alien, which I'm very well versed in.
You are you? Well, we'll have to study it together on our voyage. To which Miss Green coughs.
Uh, as Mr. Hastings on board, would he mind?
Oh, Mr. Hastings is back tending to matters in London.
Well, of course, then I'd love to.
Miss Green coughs again, louder, and you see Miss Hastings kind of jump a little bit as she is kicked under the table. Like, tell me, have you ever attempted to cast a spell? To which you hear a thump, and the captain says, "We shall be doing no such things on this voyage. I know a little of such things, and they are best kept to land. I would rather see our ship safely to berth before you go about any experimentation."
It is very dangerous business.
I lean over and whisper in Mrs. Hastings' ears and say, yes, I do. I do know one myself.
Mrs. Hastings is kicked under the table again by Miss Green.
I was whispering very quietly.
No, I know. She sees you whispering.
Okay.
Doesn't know what you said. Doesn't matter. Mrs.
Seems like-
Hastings does also still look to the side and nod at you.
Feel like you might need these, and I slide over the handcuffs, like just an inch towards her, and then look at Miss Green.
Mrs. Green is stoically digging into the main course that has just been delivered as the soup plates have been taken away. Your lobster is now sitting in front of you. The captain interrupts and says, "Do enjoy. The lobster is the special for tonight for some of our first-class diners. It would not have survived terribly long on the voyage, so it is being served the first couple of nights."
Can't just catch your own on the way.
You are obviously not a fisherman, Mr. Wright, or Mr. Watts.
Clearly not. I don't even want to be on this damned boat.
The catching, if you want to talk about dangers of the sea, well, fishing for lobster is one of the most dangerous of pastimes.
I'm a captain. Changing the subject. Do you have a library on board?
A small one, largely fiction, with a small amount of your standard non-fiction options as well.
Interesting. Oh. I want to research the Cathat Aquadigion now. So, tell me more, Mrs. Hastings. Like, what else have you deciphered from this tome? Like, the Children of the Deep. What was it called? The People of the Deep. And we happen to be on water and you at this table.
As well, I've been reading the book now since I purchased it in the last couple of weeks of visiting New York, and it has been difficult indeed. It has been a very difficult tome to decipher, but the Middle English is something that I studied in my times at Oxford, and I think I'm starting to cut through it. I think it may even describe a way to speak with these children of the seas.
That wouldn't surprise me at all, to be honest. I mean, does it speak of what they did, or if they're dangerous?
Well, they seem to have their own interests and proclivities. Dangerous, maybe to some. I suppose it would depend on whether you particularly align with the things that they seek to accomplish in their own inscrutable lives and requirements. Like
Indeed.
anything with the occult, there's always dangers to be had, but somebody with the right mind and temperament is sure to be able to safely navigate them.
Oh, absolutely. I'm 100% with you there. It's not all doom and gloom like everyone seems to assume. The troubles of the Titanic that I'd previously had is what drove me into my specialties in the occult and proving that there's something else out here that is the reason why the Titanic went down, and I saw with my own eyes what was happening, and people wouldn't believe a 14-year-old boy at the time.
That is quite the tale. Mr. Brady, what do you make of that? Your own studies are well regarded within these areas.
Um, what specifically again?
Whether there is creatures in the deep, friendly or otherwise. As Mr. Wright here says, he believes that right. Fuck, I keep doing that. Mr. Watts here says that such creatures might have been involved in the sinking of the Titanic. I, for one, believe that if there are peoples of the sea, that they are benign and potentially friends to us.
I think that's an assumption for sure. There's no way to know until you actually know. But I have no reason to not believe Mr. Watts. And I have no reason to believe him. So,
You have no reason to believe me after everything we've been through, Brady.
Kind of arch
No.
an eyebrow at that.
no, I guess I misspoke. What I mean is, I don't believe you're wrong, but I don't know if it's right. And
Well, he's
'cause
right, and I point to Mr. Right.
Who's on
and,
first?
and that's that's one of those things that I respect Mr. Watts, and I regard him very highly, and I value his friendship, and he's never steered the group wrong, and he's always had the best interest, and he's constantly impressing me with the things he knows, and I personally don't know about things that would be in the bottom of the sea, but
Can-
if they were to arise, it wouldn't surprise me knowing what Mr. Watts has told us.
Can I ask, Mike, if these things of the deep, these people of the deep, if they are benign or good, would I have seen anything strange the night of the Titanic where it looked like people were being pushed out of the water into boats or anything weird like that, or is that too much of a giveaway of what they are, if they are anything at all?
No, I would say definitely not.
Okay.
What you experienced on the night of the Titanic was
horrible.
Something horrible and grotesque, and definitely
Yeah, like I'm thinking I saw a gigantic monster, but if there's these things of the deep, that might be something opposite. Did the two
Yeah.
things coexist in the water, and one was trying to help the lives of the humans, whilst this other big creature was devouring everything else that it could? Like that's what I was asking. But
Yeah,
like,
you have no reason to believe that.
okay,
For you, I would say from an RP perspective as well, and your experience, that things from the deep are only to be
bad.
distrusted.
Yeah. I, well, Mrs. Hastings, I mean, I wish I could share your optimism of what's down there, but the only things I've ever experienced, witnessed, is horror. And whilst Mr. Brady may have misspoken that I've given him no reason to believe what I'm saying, I can assure you, even with Mr. Wright here, we have we have experienced things together that one should not have to experience at all on this world, and it's a little disheartening that Mr. Brady might not fully believe my story of what happened and why I'm so against being on this open water. And I guess I impressed him with my knowledge, and that's why they kidnapped me and brought me aboard against my will.
I mean, I guess that's partly true, but it wasn't meant to offend you in any way. It's just inconceivable on my part to think of something like that. I don't entirely like. I may have misspoke, and I stand by that, but I just it's really hard for me to grasp that, and that's the thing, you know. It's there's always the possibility for that, and um, hopefully on this trip, you know, we don't have to deal with anything like that. But if we do, and that eventuality is a reality that we have to face, then I'm definitely glad that Mr. Watts is here to provide his expertise and um, yeah, like again, it wasn't meant to offend you.
Tell me, Captain, with your grandiose experience and bravery and multiple journeys, you you I'm sure you fishermen, you sailors, you captains speak. Stories are told, stories are evolved. Anything that I've said here tonight, you don't seem to have reacted at all to shock from what I'm saying. Tell me, have you heard any stories similar of other people, other survivors of, I guess, a kraken type creature?
There's always tales of creatures that destroy lives at sea, and what to make of them? Well, are they merely the expected creatures of the deep, or something more? Well, it's the dead tell no tales, but I am sure that there is more belief beneath the waves than we are likely to know. I've been at sea too long to believe that I know everything about it. In terms of these deep ones or children of the sea, well, there certainly has been a long history of tales that involve fishmen coming up onto land, taking wives, birthing their hybrid spawn, and returning to the seas from whence they came. Could they be old wives' tales? They may well be, but I certainly would not trust such a creature, let alone want to speak with it.
Most stories come from truth somewhere down the line, so completely feasible to me. I'm talking. Have you ever heard of the stories of a creature? Did you ever see the Titanic? But when were you around in England when it was making its maiden voyage?
I missed the leaving of the maiden voyage, but I did see its sister once. It is quite a spectacular vessel.
Was the sister identical? I can't think. Was it big?
Yes, the Olympic had two sisters, the Olympic and the Britannic, which were of similar sizes.
And so you understand the size of what the Titanic was, and a creature to be able to bring that down. That's what I'm asking you specifically. Have you ever heard of tales of a creature big enough to do that?
Certainly not. Well, I've certainly heard tales that seem incredible, but ones that I could put stock in from somebody that I felt sure was telling me the absolute truth, no.
That's interesting, Captain. Very interesting. I mean, someone who you trust has not told you the story, but you've not denied any of these stories to be untrue.
As I said, I've been at sea too long to say that I know all that goes on below the waves. I merely travel across them.
How is this lobster, by the way?
I'd say with that, you guys dig into your meal with our hot lobster sitting in front of you with warm butter melting across it and delicious oregano and thyme. And we'll call it there for a night, and you'll pick back up your conversation as you head into the dessert next week.